Hey everyone, welcome to Halloween. See what I did there? Hey, it is October 28th, and I thought I'd give you a little bit of an update as to what the garden is. So I want to give an update today on where the strawberries are at, how the peppers are faring, and I just want to walk you around what the garden looks like. And also, I'm going to give you a preview into what I've got going on next year. All right, so here we can see all of the strawberries all happy in their pots. A couple of actual strawberries on this plant. This is the mother plant that grew most of the runners, bar like one or two. And I've probably harvested like a handful of strawberries off of it already. We did lose a couple of the small runners, but all in all, I think we got 45 plants in here. This one has started growing strawberries. It's got a whole bunch of flowers there growing more. This is the second largest plant that has produced a couple strawberries as well. And everybody is just doing great. They have a slightly pinkish hue to the leaves because of the grow lights that I'm using to supplement the light that comes in from the window. You can see them there. So once the leaves all fall, we'll get a lot more light coming in through here because that's where the sun comes up. And these plants will get great early morning sun in addition to the light I have. Down here are two of the pepper plants that had the soil completely removed from their roots and they repotted. The one on the right is from the pepper video, if you remember that poor sad little guy. And look at that, started growing leaves already. I'm probably actually getting too much light down here. I might need to move it to the basement or something like that because with the grow lights in the window, it's getting enough light that it seems to be confused and thinking it's spring already. Speaking of peppers, this is a bell pepper that I pulled out. It has not a lot of leaves on the lower side because it got shaded out by the tomato plants around it, but it is actually growing peppers and there's fresh flowers coming in there, so it's ready to roll. There's one bell pepper, another one right there, and then there is actually a third one coming in right here. That little nub has already turned into a pepper. Here is a habanero that I pulled in. It had a couple of habaneros on it. This one's been rocking all summer long, and I wanted to give it a second lease on life. There's one pepper there that's actually ripening. It has had a bit of a hard time coming in because I had to remove a lot of its roots, and you can see it's shedded a lot of leaves. These are all ones I just put in the pot to let them decompose and dump some nutrients back into the pot. But I probably should have cut a few more of the branches off of it and I wouldn't have had this issue because then the root mass I would have been enough to keep the plant going. So perhaps we'll do a short tour out in the garden before we get to the greenhouse. Here, if you watch the one on the video on garlic, is where the garlic is all planted. I have a couple of potato bags out here. I'm just letting the potatoes go through a simulated winter. The one in this one here is already growing eyes. The eyes are growing, so it'll actually produce potatoes. Here's the last of these tomato plants. I'm just leaving everything on the vine as long as I can right now. Keeping it out in the light and everything. I've got maybe a week before frost hits, so they can kind of hang out there. Got some lemon thyme, some lavender. Still hanging out here. I have to winterize the lavender still. Gotta do that. And then my hoop house, which has some brassicas growing in it and a little bit of lettuce. And then another batch of tomatoes. Mostly everything's left here is cherry tomatoes. And they're actually coming along pretty well. There's like whole bunches in here that are totally new and green, but there's a number of reddening ones as well. So I'm kind of just letting them all stay on the vine as long as possible, get them as red as possible. And then down here we've got another section with garlic that has the leaves on it that I mulched and put on top. And then there's a bunch of Brussels sprouts, cauliflower. I should also mention over here is some cauliflower too. But these ones got hit hard by slugs, as you can see. And I worked really hard to get the slugs off them, but they really went to town eating in here. Actually, it was the caterpillars, not slugs. What am I saying? There were a couple of slugs, but mostly it was caterpillars that were just nestled in there, just having a grand old time. And they just completely shredded these leaves. But this one's looking really good. And so's that one there. So I'm optimistic that I might actually get some cauliflower this year. That would be freaking fantastic. I am going to be harvesting all of this pineapple sage You can see I live on a bit of a busy street because all of these leaves plus the flowers are edible and they're great in tea. In fact, I might need to bring this one in sooner than not because it looks like it's broken down there. So I'll bring it in, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut off all of the branches off of this thing entirely. I'll bury it in mulch and winterize it, and the whole thing I'm going to put like a box around it, like probably just a cardboard box. Fill it with mulch and put some rocks on the flaps to hold it down. But these will all make great tea. Of course, I'll take off the branches that are, or the leaves that are bad, and just use the good ones. But this is going to make a ton of tea. Hey folks, here we are now in the greenhouse. As you can see, it's Halloween, so I'm a little dressed up. But I want to talk to you about what's going on in here. It's currently a balmy 71 degrees. Well, I think it's 45 outside, so it's nice and toasty. It's about 20 degrees Celsius. And I have got a lot of plants growing in here. So we're going to take you on a little tour, show you what's going on, and show you what I'm going into winter with. So there is a lot in here. This is allium corner. There's a onion growing in the back, just something I saved from the ground that didn't produce. I'm gonna see if it can go any longer. And then 3 scallions. There's a 4th here, and it will come back. It's just taking a little break. Some dill. It's already been harvested before. You can see that I've already harvested this dill, and it's just growing fresh dill, which is awesome. This is an this is a Cajun bell pepper, and it is yellowing in here a lot. I'm not entirely sure if it's getting enough light, if it's getting enough heat. I might move it into the sunroom when I get more grow lights and see if I can breathe life back into it. But catnip is doing great. Oregano's doing great. These are some more dill plants because we could never have enough dill in our house, and they're doing great too. This is a pot of cilantro. This cilantro has been sitting here taking its time forever. I've never seen cilantro grow so slow, but I'm letting it do its thing, and when it's ready, it'll be ready. Some more dill, a variety of peas I just stuck in random pots I had, and then some chives. So that's sort of this top shelf here. And this shelf actually gets most light because the light comes in mostly through this side. This is the south-facing side. And then down below I have more things. These are Anaheim peppers, which are like a sweet pepper. They look a little bit like jalapenos, but they're not. Got some celery down here, some mixed vegetables. There's some lettuce growing in here, more dill. That's regular garden thyme. Kale, a random garlic bulb is in there. That tall lettuce is growing out of the stump of another lettuce I just cut off at the ground level before. More sort of garden stuff down there. Kale, lettuce, more dill, and a jalapeno pepper plant. Directly in the middle of the greenhouse is this habanero that is doing great in here. It's very happy inside the greenhouse this year. It's really taken off, and it is hopefully going to give me some habaneros pretty soon. And I trimmed off a couple of branches so I could make it around the plant easier, but it's flowering. And of course, peppers all have male and female parts on every flower, so they can self-pollinate. So just by doing what I was doing right there, rubbing my finger around in there, I'm giving enough to pollinate. There's this flower that I love. It's now 1.5 years old, and I just want to keep it going. We've got jalapenos there, sweet basil that I probably need to cut down at some point soon to get it to regrow fresh. This is Thai basil, more oregano, more celery, potatoes. Just had some random potatoes. I threw them in a bag. That thing might get too big and unruly to be in here. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it, to be honest. And then down below here, we have more of the peppers that I've cut down. There's 4 of them down here. 5, sorry. That far one that's growing leaves was the one I did in the pepper video. So it's one of the first ones. It's the one that I didn't put into new soil. I left it in its existing soil and put it in here, and it's taking off. And then these other ones are all relatively new transplants, so they haven't started growing anything yet. There's some more random garden stuff growing in here. Lettuce, peas, I think a kale. Nope, just all lettuce and peas. And then this is my Carolina Reaper plant that I just got put in here relatively recently. This is lemon thyme. a variety of peas all growing through here. This is a transplant off my pineapple sage bush. I'm not sure how well it's going to do. Random garlic, rosemary, another transplant off the pineapple sage, also kind of not doing that well, another random garlic. However, over here we have an onion that was sort of hanging out, not doing anything. I put it in here, it's been growing like gangbusters. This is a very healthy transplant off my pineapple sage, it's doing great. Regular sage, some broccoli. These are actually ones I've harvested in the past. I cut them off and they've grown fresh broccoli, so I'm excited to see what they do. And then a number of new things growing over there. Lettuce, I think there's basil in one of those, and then 2 beans that I just tossed in something. Those are bush beans, so they should give me a decent load of beans. Up top here, I'm trying to see if I can grow my plum tree from cuttings. They lost all their leaves, they haven't really grown any roots, but I'm just letting them go to see what happens. But then right here, I've got some pepper cuttings I'm trying to propagate from, and a tomato cutting, which is actually doing quite well, to be honest. I probably should have started in water, but I didn't. More cilantro and scallions in here. Plus some rather sizable mushrooms have grown, and I'm okay with that because mushrooms are great for the soil. So if your soil's growing mushrooms, you know you're doing something right. So that's it basically. There's Thai, peppers, another jalapeno plant. This one is also having a little bit of trouble. It's yellowing a bit on me. And then bee balm, which is great in tea. Also, like, these pea plants are growing peas, so they're doing really well. I'm going to get a decent harvest from them. But I hung this string here for the peas to sort of hang on. I probably should have made it tighter because they have stretched out a fair bit, but it's working pretty well. I might need to put another one up at the top, but I'm really happy with how that's turned out. So there you have it, everyone. That's the tour of most of what I have going on right now. There's a few things that I didn't get to, but that's the gist of it. And I'm pretty stoked. I have spinach growing from seed right now as well that I didn't show, onions and cucumbers, because I'm going to be growing cucumbers here in the sunroom with me. I'm going to let them trail up along the rack that's holding the peas. And then we're going to be getting more grow lights and running microgreens in there as well. So a lot going on this winter, and I'm really excited to see what I can grow and what I can keep growing all winter long, and then hit the ground running come springtime. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. Please like and subscribe, and I hope to see you again in future videos.